Okay, so we will cover characteristics of good startup founders, and then we will go through our assignments, and that will be it for today. Yeah, so this is the imagination of a good startup founder. You should have a look. You will remember that. Guys, are you following? Okay. Because here is your assignment, number 3. This is another reason why you will do only one canvas for the project for your team assignment, because you have 2 more essays for the individual assignments. Again, I'm not very much strict on the amount of words or pages of your assignment, but it must be fulfilled idea what you're trying to say, on both why you should or shouldn't start, and these are the characteristics, and what kind of characteristics of them you have, or what kind of them you need to develop. And please make sure you comment your group mates assignments as well. All right. So, but first of all, yeah, what are those characteristics?
Thinking big.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have asked Anastasia about that. So she didn't see a slide yet. Yeah. So a part of that.
Flexible, like mind.
Flexible attitude, mind, good. What else?
Good mental health.
Good what?
Mental health.
Mental health. Yeah, this is a good one.
Like stress resilience.
Yes, this is very important. Thanks for bringing it up. So what else? Yeah, here please. Let's see. That says
Maybe following the target.
following the target. So okay. Yeah.
Brave enough and not to give up.
Persuasiveness, right? Yeah, good one. What else?
Humility.
What?
Humility.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have to generate ideas fast, and yeah, this is a good one too. Okay. What else? There are many of them. You'll have to write a full list. Consistency. Good one. Okay, let's see what we have here. So why thinking big is important, by the way?
Because if you don't think big, you will stop like really fast. You have to kind of, not to say like follow your dream, but you have to take in mind like many things and like cover them. So this is kind of think big.
Yeah, it's like
your ideas.
coming to your vision.
Yeah.
It's very strongly correlates, indeed, it's very strongly correlates with your strategy and with your vision. So, and it also correlates with being ambitious. So if you're not, it's something which we are not told in schools or in the universities how to become an ambitious, how to become a dreamer who thinks with a big vision. But for the successful startup, you have to think with a very, very big scale, and not only geographically, but also from the vision and from the future you have. And this is how you become ambitious. When Mark Zuckerberg was 19 years old, Facebook was very like 10,000 customers or something like that. It was Harvard and a couple of more universities they covered. And someone asked them, when he was 19 years old and with only 10,000 people following this, one of the angel investors asked, how many users will you have? And Mark Zuckerberg, what kind of number he said, by the way? What do you think?
Like million?
Medium. What else?
7 billion.
7 million.
7 billion.
7 billion. Yeah, there was, I think by that time it was a little bit less, or roughly, but I like your thinking. So what else? we will try to find out who will be the closest to Mark Zuckerberg thinking. Any guess, like any number?
Just say you'll not lose anything.
40.
Well, actually, I think he said 300 million. So 300 million users, and no one had that number by the 2004, and that the year Facebook started. And actually, he was wrong. Now he's actually got over 1 billion users. Facebook have, and actually, so this is a good example of how to be an ambitious, and you have to learn that. You have to adjust your mind towards that. And I highly recommend it, not because of the course, not because of the startup, but because of your future career. You will have to, the high goals you set up for yourself, the higher you will get. Because even if you miss this 300 million, you still will accomplish a lot if you set up a very high goals. So be ambitious no matter whether you start your startup or not. Okay, work hard, play hard. Startup here is very specific for being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is probably one of the hardest form of your career path. So you have to be tough yourself. Vision of the product and the future, and we attach to that a little bit. Like we all know Dropbox, and when angel investor asked like a Dropbox founder, like, how do you see the future of your company in 10 years? He said, like, I want people all over the world to work 4 days a week, not 5 days, but 4 days a week, because we will make the tools which will help people to become super efficient, so they don't have to work for 5 days a week. He didn't speak about about features of the product, about like what kind of new things he will add to the product, but he spoke about his clear vision of the future. So make sure you have that, and when you have that, it's really good, like a polar star to follow. Determination, as you said, and it's a very good one, and being a good listener. It's very important because you will have to listen a lot to your advisors, to your customers, and especially to your customers. So, which is very important. And have a strong will. So you should not give up easily. Flexible. I really like this one, like being flexible. But also, which one I like here is I'm on it attitude, because this where the big differences between big companies and startups breaks down. Because in the big company, you have your area of responsibility, and everything else which comes out of this area, you say, well, most of us say no. So this is not my area. I'm not in charge of it. I do only this stuff. In startup, especially as a startup founder, it doesn't work. You always own it. You always keep doing that. So make sure you do that kind of I'm on it attitude. And about mistakes, we're all afraid of making mistakes. We designed that way. That's us human. But you just make mistakes. You learn from that fast, and you go on. Don't worry too much about mistakes. The good example to remember here is who have seen movie Sense of Woman with Al Pacino? No one? Yeah, it's kind of old movie, but it's a very popular one. So, Sense of Woman. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah. Well,
The one where memes come from.
yeah, but I highly recommend to watch this one.
Just remind what's 10?
Yeah, it
Because
was
it's
about
like-
tango. They were discussing about tango. Yeah. So the basic idea was you should not be afraid of dancing tango, and you should not be afraid of mistakes. So you make mistake, you get up and dance again. So this is the basic advice here. But watch the movie. It's kind of fun. It's old one, but nice one. So here is a long list for you, and the last one, the picture, is my favorite. What does it mean? The picture here. Yeah,
Never
There
give
is
up.
yeah, never give up. Yeah,
there's
exactly.
exactly the same picture, and I know two HAMK teachers have the picture on their like, workspace.
Which one?
Ilkka Bulkin and Ion
And what do they teach?
No, they're HAMK Smart,
Uh-huh.
they're researchers.
Nice. So this works in every domain, not only entrepreneurship.
And also in sport.
Absolutely. Well, actually, like I know many successful founders from the who were professional sport players before, or military from the army, because they are relentlessly resourceful. You have to find different ways to generate ideas, as Cecilia mentioned as well. So you have to generate.
Always in stress.
Yes, and you're always in stress, and you manage how to deal with your mental stress. You manage how to be disciplined, and you manage how to generate lots of ideas to the situation which seems to be unsolvable. You're a risk taker, and but the most important here is you have dedication to your idea. So you are so inspired by the idea. That's why it's very important to pick the idea you really like, because as I mentioned, there will be so many points, so you will likely to give up here, or especially here. So, and you will never achieve to your goal if you don't have this kind of dedication to your idea. Strategic thinking, we were talking a lot about that today, and I think this is very important. But the most important here, I believe, is the reputation, and I want to emphasize this before we go to the practical assignments, because your reputation is everything, absolutely everything. You should take care of that from the very beginning to the very end, because once it's screwed, it's very hard to rebuild. It's very easy to screw your reputation, but impossibly hard to rebuild. So, and this is something I very rarely hear, like when someone emphasizes how reputation is important. So please make sure you, and it's actually pragmatical. It's very pragmatically work for you. It's not just like some kind of spiritual thing. When you have your good reputation, lots of good people willing to do business with you, even on a higher base, because you're a reliable person. So make sure you make it your habit to have a good reputation. So here is a list of sources, which I also highly recommend to you to watch and see.
If to again back to Elon Musk, when he smoked the marijuana in the radio, like on YouTube chat, immediately after the Tesla cost dropped to 6%.
Yeah.
So that.
Yes, exactly. So like the reputation here is a very pragmatic thing, and not only in startups but in your career as well, because after all this is a small world and we all know each other somehow. Okay, another thing I want to touch here with you today is assignments, because I think there's been some let's make it bigger. So I would encourage you to another thing. What I would encourage you to do here is to read it again carefully, and every sentence. It's not a big list of questions here. Like here, which business goal, problem, need you solve. Here is we're talking only about the problem or about the needs, not about the technology. So what enables us? Why is it important? So make sure you answer to each of those questions, and they will lead you The book is. Have you seen the book on online, right? On Facebook. Yes. So it's just. It's probably not very clear to read. It's for me. It's hard to read. But try to go through the questions again and try to see how your group mates, not from your team but other group mates, did this assignment, and try to refill those questions because some questions are certainly unanswered in your assignments. So make sure you answer like all those questions in every each topic. They are very leading questions, so they will lead you towards the right. Well, there are no right or wrong answers, but they will lead you to the fuller picture rather than just to some sort of making up here. Because this is important to run how to run any kind of commercial project, not only in startup. This kind of methodology works very much because you have a problem you need to solve. You have no idea how to solve that. But first of all, you have to identify whether the problem is real or not, and that's how you do that. You have the questions about the repetition. So where were they? Do you remember?
The third or fourth canvases.
Third and fourth.
The one about the customer groups, and basically the same question as this first one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go through that. So in immersion, you could hear the some of you avoid the hard names in the domain. So here is not just inspirational names, but the hard names on the domain. So the most important scientists or technologies, like if you're, for instance, if you want to make it from the transportation, you need to find out who are good at the drone transportation right now, or at drones itself. So if you're making about the clothings online shops, you have to identify who are the greatest people to ask pieces of advice in this domain. So those are your resources here. And also put the hottest startups, not your direct competitors, because for example there is no food delivery with the drones, right? Or there is no innovative solution for backup battery. But there are companies who solve it already. So there are companies who are making this kind of batteries. There are companies who are making alternative batteries. Who are developing this kind of technologies, and you have to list all those names here, because then you will refer to for the data gathering to those names. So this is the main idea here. Inspiring service and products. Yeah, I actually like that you put some Twitter or Facebook stuff. Some of you put there, and but also try to. Well, this is good. I mean, this is very good when you see the role model for your startup. So public debates here, also if it's power bank batteries. So make sure you find out the topics about the power bank batteries and what are the issues with them on the news. So also with the food delivery. So just make sure that you go through these food delivery services in Finland or in other countries as well, or at least Scandinavian countries, maybe some other good examples. And make sure that you list them here, these kind of links or what you find about that. The data is very important. So what data do we need? You put here what do you need to know about the problem, about what data you should be looking for, what the data you think you should look for, what do you need to know about the possible technologies, or what do you need to know about the domain. That's why this kind of immersion, the previous task, very important, because you understand what's happening in the domain, and basically very few of you put anything in this kind of anything proper in this kind of public discussions. So go ahead, hit the news, hit the Twitter, and try to find out what public is saying about the domain you want to participate in, you want to get in, because you need to be aware of the latest news, of the latest companies who are doing this kind of research over there. And I'm sure there are lots of them from the different approaches, not only big companies like Huawei or like Sony, but also small startups. That's why analyzing this kind of news are very important. And you have to know how to do that, like anyway. This is like working with the information. So I highly recommend you to, I'm not saying redo, but well, in a way, yes. So try to comment your peers' assignments, and after rereading that and re-understanding because sometimes it felt like you missed the actually what is saying in here in those boxes. So pay close attention to what they are trying to say here. This is a very precise guidelines. If something unclear, just drop a message in the group, so we will discuss over the Facebook group. But the process they put in here, this is super easy to follow, but super important to follow in any kind of domain. So business opportunity, do you find business with, I think we answered this quite good. Key findings of business data. So what does the data tell you about business you do? So what you found out of this data? So apply it's called critical analysis. So you have to be critical of what you are doing. And if you will look at what you've done critically, like if that will be not just a course, but a real business case, so you wouldn't go too far with the information you put out there. So, like, let's be honest. So you have to think of this more critically, and that will help you a lot. Like this is like it's hard to estimate the importance of what you do in this book right now when you do that. But if you make it more seriously, that will help you to develop your future career in the sense that approaching the projects. Because startup is actually a project, it's nothing else. And this is how to approach that. Let's see what we have here. Customer grouping. Yeah. So customer grouping is really important because it focuses you on the customers you have in your mind. Like we discussed before, your ideal customer. You have to have a clear vision of what your ideal customer is, and you have to group your customers like. But there will be different categories of customers, and so, like for example, farmers will be your customers. Then people who live in the not in the cities but in the rural areas will be your customers. Who are those? Who are those people? What kind of commonalities or differences they have? So try to, and they very like why this group is your main group. And do you know, like we will be talking about the marketing as well. We will touch the marketing here, and we will touch the group segmentation. And this is like very simple version of it. And this is like a very clear version, like why this is your main group. And if this is your main group, your main group is the one who needs this problem to be solved radically. So they need your solution very much. So that's how you define this kind of primary group, and then you define your second group and your third group here. So this kind of group segmentation. I also like this book because they also make it like sort of play. So this is like very easy questions, like I would say easygoing questions and easy to understand. But if not, just try to, well, at least try to ask. So we will try to go through that. But try to read this carefully. All the information is not even hidden; it's just out here. and try to understand the purpose, why they're saying that it's important to name your group. So because in order to name something, you have to imagine this particular person, this particular ideal customer in your mind, and that's how you get the picture of that, and that's how you understand that this is your group. Inside, I think this is your 5th assignment. So this will be your assignment for this week, and you have to, like before that, you discussed what are your what the groups of your customers, and now you have to get to those groups of your customers and talk to them. Then you will have to ask them open questions without saying them about the solutions you have in mind. So you only ask them about the problem they have. For example, you go to the to your friend who is shopping online and who is buying clothing online, and he or she says, and you ask like, what do you like about the process? What do you dislike about the process? And depending on the answers, you are asking again open questions. What is open question?
There is no answer, yes, no.
Exactly. So if there is a question where there's no or yes answer, so it's like, what did you like about the project, about the process? So and she will or he will have to say the whole sentence, the whole phrase of the process. The same about power banks. So you will have to go to the customers and ask, like, do you use it? When last time you're shopping online? When the last time you use your power bank? Like when the last time you had the problem with your power bank, like it's run out of the batteries, stuff like that. When last time you bought the food online, or like or how do you sell to the how do you like the process of that? If you go to farmers, how do you sell to your products? So what are the problems? What kind of issues? So you will find out lots and lots of really important information. This is one of the important assignments of all. But if you haven't done before that those 4 assignments properly, it will be harder for you to find this kind of proper categories who you will be addressing. So please read it carefully. Read your assignments you did before with the instructions. If you have any questions, ask them. But please make sure you do this assignment, the 5th assignment, properly. This is a very important one, and you will have to go and talk to at least 5 or 10 potential customers here. Is it all clear? What kind of questions you have about that? So everything is all right here, yeah? But don't hesitate to ask. Remember Steve Jobs, please. Not only for this course, but for the whole of your life. And be ambitious. That's probably it for today. So if you have any questions, please ask. So far, thank you very much.